on, everybody? So we're brewing today. This is the Midland Maibock, and yes, this is a printout from the Beersmith app, and the calculations in Beersmith are off, like, because I can't enter the exact type of grain into the application, but I got close. Grain absorption is what I care about most, and my water volume calculations. So anyways, let's get to it. This is going to be my first time making a lager, and I haven't done lagers in the past because they require some serious temperature control, and I've never had a place to put a fermenter that allows me to do that. So I've always done ales, and I did do a Marzen before, but it wasn't like a true Marzen because I fermented it at ale temps. Yeah, but it was still good. And it got me by for October, right? And those who don't know what a Marzen is, it's an Oktoberfest. It's a German Oktoberfest. So this is actually the inventory sheet that came with my recipe from Texas Brewing. They say I should get an original gravity between 1071 and 1073. Beersmith says I should get a gravity around like around 1061. So we should get 1071, 1073 based on the Texas Brewing Inc.'s calcs, because it's their grains. They know their grains better than what I put in Beersmith. Anyways, you saw me crush, you saw me put the water in for the mash, for letting it heat up to a strike of 157, and when I add the grains, that'll come down. We're looking at a mash around 152 today, kind of in the middle on the body there. Not a real strong body, not a real light body, kind of in the middle. We're using 9 pounds of Pilsner 2-row, German 2-row, and 4 pounds of Munich malt, 9 SRMs. And also we are going to put in 1 ounce of pearl hops for this beer. Not a very hoppy beer, but this is a Maibock, or Maibock, I don't know how you say it, but a Maibock beer basically is like a really strong bock. It's going to be a high ABV. We're looking probably around the 7% profile on ABV on this, I believe. And let's talk about the lager part, because why homebrewers don't brew lagers. A lot of them don't. One, it takes a while before the beer's ready. I mean, you could drink it technically in about 4 weeks, but if you want the best crisp, clear version of that beer, you have to let the lager process take place. And all lager really is like cold storage, and we kind of do that already with our beers, even our ales. We technically do lager, but what happens is we do it without knowing it, right? When you lager a beer, you're basically just storing the beer at a really cold temp for an extended period of time. So if you don't drink the beer in your keg right away, like your ales or whatever, and you have them sitting in your kegerator, keezer, and you're sitting that keezer at about 34, 35 degrees, or even just sub 40, and you let that keg, we call it keg conditioning, because what you're doing is your beer just sits there and it clears up even more and more. Everything kind of settles out. Proteins, any leftover yeast debris, or any leftover yeast cells, they all kind of settle to the bottom of the keg, and you end up with a really clear beer over time, which essentially, if your beer has sat that long, you've lagered it to a degree. So what this is how this works is I've got a lager specific yeast. Anybody who knows lager yeast knows they are a very funky yeast. They smell, they put out a lot of sulfur, smells like methane-ish gas, like it stinks, right? It smells like someone farted in the room, and then like it just keeps farting in the room. These yeasts do that. They make a very crisp, clean beer, but what you have to do is you ferment the beer at the specified range on that yeast. Every yeast is different, but this one I think is 53 to 58 degrees. So what we'll do is I'm actually going to ferment at the highest tolerable range on that yeast for like the first day, just to kind of really ramp things up. And then the next day what I'll do is I'll dial it down to the lower end of that profile of that yeast, like 53 degrees versus 58. And we'll do that for 2 weeks, and that'll give the yeast plenty of time to work and do its job. And then after that, for about 2 to 3 days, I'll ramp the temperature up to about 60 degrees, and it will sit there for 2 to 3 days. And what that does is that gives, it's called a diacetyl rest. What that does is you'll get this, what happens when you're fermenting a lager beer, with a lager yeast, I should say, is you get diacetyl in the beer. And what that is, it's like a buttery, butterscotch flavor that gets added to the beer, and it's kind of an off flavor. It's kind of chemically off flavor that the yeast releases, and it does not fit the flavor profile of the beer. Some people like it, some people do. I don't want that in my beer. So what the diacetyl rest does is it allows the yeast to kind of go back in there and clean up its mess, if you will. It kind of cleans up after itself. And then after that 2 to 3 days of that diacetyl rest period, we'll dial the temps low. Like, we'll start at about 50 degrees, and then we'll just lower it about 5 degrees every day until we hit sub 40. A lot of macro breweries in general will ferment, they will lager their beers close to freezing temps, but just enough that it doesn't freeze. I'm not going to do that. I've got the stasis glycol chiller here. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to try and get this down to about 37, 38 degrees, and we will let it sit at that temp for 2 to 3 weeks. This beer will not be ready to drink for like 8 weeks at the earliest. So anyways, we're waiting for this to get up to strike temp. Once that's done, we will dough in the grains, or mash in the grains for some of you, and get this rocking and rolling. So I hope that was educational and informational enough for you guys that have never lagered before. I've never lagered before, but I do understand the process. And so this will be exciting to see how this turns out. And if you stick around with me long enough during this whole thing, you'll get to see what I think, how it turned out. But it's a Maibock, it's a really strong bock beer. Should be damn good, man. So cheers, guys. I'll get back to you shortly. Okay guys, I forgot my J-clips. I don't know where they are. I misplaced them. So we're just gonna have to rely on the hoist to hold this thing up. So we'll see how this goes. So we're done mashing. Let's get this thing hoisted up. Go ahead and kill the pump and the heat for now. Well, actually we can just leave the heat so it stays hot. Disconnect my hose for now. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and drain this into my little pot here. Close off this, of course. Smells really good too. So we'll leave this hosey end up here. I'm going to pop off this from the pump, and it's going to want to drain out this line. Alright, now that part's done. I always keep a rag handy to wipe up any little bit of spills or whatever, so. Next. Close that for now. Open the kettle on here. Drain it out. Set my hoses aside. Take the kettle lid off. I'm going to need this for the rest of the process. Hook it up and away we go. I'm going to drain out some here. I gotta find those J-clips, man. I really don't know where I put them. I have no idea. Alright, well, let it sit and drain. Alright guys, this is what we're looking like. I've kind of scraped around in here a little bit. Really wish I knew where I put my J-clips, because they would have been real handy right about now. I've searched high and low in here. Man, steam's just steaming up my lens, man. I've searched high and low in here, and I do not see those J-clips anywhere. So, we'll just continue to let this drain out a little bit, and then we will get the boil rolling here. Meh. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get this bad boy ramped up to boiling. We're going to do 60% boil. And I just do this for the manual mode because like at 100% boil it's too much. I boil off over 2 gallons, so we're going with 60%. Actually, you know what? The last time I did this, I had it at 50%. It's just a real powerful element. For a 5-gallon batch, it's just a bit overkill. So, here we go, man. While I'm at it here, let's go ahead and take a pre-boil reading. Also, we're sitting at about 7.5 gallons pre-boil, so we're not too off from where I was hoping to be on the pre-boil volume. So, let's go ahead and take a reading here. Okay, pre-boil volume, gravity, we're at 1050. So we might actually be around 1061. We'll see. We'll see what this turns out to be at the end of the day. Maybe Beersmith is more accurate. Who knows? Put in a hop spider here. Starting to hit the hot break here. Should be breaking through to a boil any minute now. You can see all that stuff building up on top is what we call hot break. like all the proteins and everything in the grain coming up to the surface there. That stuff will break down and settle to the bottom of the kettle later when we chill the wort. So far it looks good though. Alright guys, we are at boil. I have it at 60% power. I may dial it down to 50, but 60 is where I've been kind of hovering. You'll see it's just a pulsating boil, because that's just how it is with electric heating elements when you're boiling. So let's go ahead and add the pearl hops here. We got an ounce of them. So go ahead and toss those in. You always got to smell your hops too, man. There's our hops in pellet form. Throw them in our hop spider here. Alright, 1 hour for the boil and that's it, man. It's a real simple beer. No other hops to be added to this brew. 1 hour. See ya. Alright guys, while the beer is boiling behind me, I was bitching and moaning about the plate chiller, and it's more on my side really, just being lazy. But I did finally come up with a solution that, for me, that's going to work. I do like the size of the plate chiller that does come with the Clawhammer system. Don't get me wrong. I've always used counterflows or immersion chillers, but this plate chiller is a lot smaller, more compact, stores on a shelf easier. But I did add these brass quick connects for each side. And basically, I just pop off here this piece. This, my water hose will screw to this, and then I just simply quick connect my water hose. Shouldn't be any leaks or anything at all. On this side, I have a hose that I made for this side, and I put a quick connect end in a brass female connection. So all I gotta do is just connect. This will screw on. This is an old hose. It'll screw on to my cool water supply, and my other hose will just screw onto this and it'll run out. So that is my answer to my plate chiller complaint, if you will. So I'll let you know how it goes when I'm chilling this beer. But we're boiling along. Like I said, real simple beer, nothing to it really. It's going to be a nice lager, I think. I just can't wait to try it once it's ready. I think it's going to be a real nice, crisp summer beer. So, yeah. I'm glad I had this vent because it would be super steamy in here. I get a little... for YouTube, I killed the air conditioner so you guys can hear me, right? In between shots, I turn it back on to cool the space down again. But we're sucking out a lot of air in this room through this fan and blowing all that steam outside, so you have to have some makeup air anyways for it to work right. You can actually kind of sense the pressure in the shed when it's going on, because even when you open the shed door, it like wants to vacuum shut that door. One thing, Graveyard Grog has gone back and forth to me in comments because he just bought a Clawhammer Supply system. After watching my videos, he made a decision that he wanted to get one, and he had been researching them for a while too. He's asking me about, you know, drip back and everything from the vent. Yes, I do get a little bit of drip back. It's not a big deal. It's just a few drops here and there, and it's more towards the end of the boil. Don't really know what else to do about that, other than I could put some kind of shield in there and then the drip back would just drip down and into a cup or something. I don't care. It doesn't hurt my beers. I'm not using anything toxic wise anyways for my vent hood. It just goes up and out. And towards the end of the boil, actually, my fan, this is a Vortex Inline, I think it's an S600 or something. but it's completely sealed on the inside, so I don't have to worry about any electrical components or anything getting damaged by the exhaust. But this fan will start to drip water out the this little connection here. Not a problem. I just put a little towel down there to catch the drippage, and I leave the fan running for a little while after I'm done brewing, just to kind of help dry things out, because the insiding of my ducts, which are plastic lined, they will dry out if I leave that fan running. So I hope that answers your question, man. As far as like simplicity of using the system, as you can see, I did mod some things with this brewery. I used to have the pump on the floor. That was kind of pain in the rear. So I did make the little mount piece here. I'll show you. You'll see I did make a pump mount here that just just slides onto the table here. And my pump does sit a little bit lower than the kettle because this is a gravity-fed pump. It's not a self-priming pump. So you have to feed your solution into the pump, and then once it's in there, the pump will take over and pump it the rest of the way. So this works perfect for my setup. I even modified my hose shorter, so it just runs from here to here, real short hose, nothing crazy. And then I left this one long that feeds up because then I want to be able to run it down to my chiller and out and everything. But this works perfect. And when I'm done using this, I just put it back on my shelf, and it's good for another brew day. But if you have a Clawhammer system, you've been putting the pump on, or system, and you've been putting the pump on the floor or whatever, I recommend doing it this way. It gets the pump off the floor out of your way. It kind of gives you a sense of placement for it, and it works really well, man. So that's how I'm going forward. I've already test driven this system with water and everything, and it worked perfect. So I knew it was going to work really well for brew day. And the other thing is it's always good to have like a collection cup of some sort. So as you're disconnecting hoses, you can collect any extra wort and just dump it into your kettle, and just collect it at every connection as you disconnect, and you're good, man. You still will get a little spillage on the floor. That happens with any brew day. Even with the grandfather, I'd get a drip or two. But I have finally, after about 4 brews, figured out how I like this system to be set up. Hope that answered your questions about my just playing with the system and getting used to it. I love it. It's been great. My beers have turned out fantastic on it. Like I said, I think my beers have actually turned out better on this system than my grandfather's system I had. I don't know why. I don't even sparge this. I just lift the grains out and kind of wring them out a little bit, and then I set the basket aside to wash later, and it works out, man. So I'll get back to you once this boil is over, and we will take a final gravity reading and see how this turned out. Guys, boil's over. Time to get this chilled down. Boil went pretty good. Let's go ahead and simple push of a button here. Flame out. And I've been drinking, I had a brown ale earlier that I brewed, and now I'm having the Thai ginger saison that I brewed like last fall, man. But look how beautiful. Man, there we go. Oh, come on, autofocus. Look at that, man. Snow shower. It is so crisp and good, man. We're gonna leave the exhaust fan running. I'm gonna go ahead and get the chiller hooked up, chill this beer, and let's take an original gravity and see where we ended up. Don't need much, just a little bit. Alright, let's see what we got. Yeah, it looks like Beersmith was more correct than what I anticipated here. It looks like we got right about 1060. We were going with the Texas Brewing said that I should get like 1071, and Beersmith app said I should get about 1061, so I'm a point under. I'll still take it. I think it's going to be a great beer. It smells great. I tasted a sample of the like on here on a super sweet, man. So I think conversion happened. I just think no, you know, every grain's unique, right? I don't think there are any issues here with conversion. We stayed right around the 152 point on the mash. It went up and down on me a couple of times, but mostly through the mash it hovered right about the 152. So the Clawhammer controller did really damn good this time. So no complaints there. Works super sugary sweet. I know some conversion occurred there. And I don't do the iodine test. Some guys do the iodine test. I don't do it. I just taste the wort. If you taste sweetness in your wort, you got some conversion going on. And this is super. And the sweeter, you know you're pretty good. This was spot on. So I'm going to run the wort, piping hot wort, through the chiller to sanitize it. We're going to get it chilled down, put it in the fermenter, and then you know, this will be a multi-part. Well, it won't be a multi-part, but it'll be in this video. We will go through the lager steps with this beer. So stay tuned to this video as we go. All right, guys. Thought I'd go ahead and show this anyways. My quick connects work like a champ. No leaks anywhere. No more water spraying around my brewery. Got the wort going in. You can see it coming down here on the meter. On the temperature here, so it's about 100 degrees, and just got it circulating through the pump. I've got the pump throttled down some, just so I get the wort temp just right. The hose is actually fairly cool to the touch. Yeah, we're dropping on temp though. Nice. That's what I was hoping for. But yeah, these aren't leaking anymore. Now I can stop bitching about the actual plate chiller. It's actually cool to the touch. So we know we're doing good, man. So anyways, that's that. Like I said, we'll follow through with the fermentation piece of this whole thing. I will go ahead and pitch the yeast once the temperature is below 60 degrees. I'm going to get this thing plumbed up to the stasis and I'll get back to you. Alright, so I thought I'd show you guys how I do this every time. I basically take my fermenter, I kind of walk it under here because, well, so I don't bump my head on stuff or whatever, but just kind of set the fermenter like so. Right now I haven't pitched the yeast on this yet. I want to get it down below 60 degrees, and after that, then we can open up the fermenter and throw the yeast in there, but I want to make sure it gets down to temp first. So this is usually how I set this thing up. I've got my 2 barbs here for the stasis connection. So what I basically do is take one, screw it down on top of my chilling coil, just get it started anyways. And then I come around the back airlock. And I know I got 2 airlocks in here, and that will change later once I drill out the new lids. It's only 1 airlock. I'm just using it to keep outside air from coming in, and I had extra airlocks laying around, so why not? Just kind of screwing these on. It's tight, just hand tight, you know. That one's nice and snug, and then snug this other one down. Making sure she's on there good. Looks like she is. Just checking my airlock position here in the back. And then the front. So we're all nice and sealed up. Pretty airtight there. So now I'm going to take my, make sure I'm using the right probe here. They are labeled NTC1, so this is the one I want to use. Basically it's just a probe. I'm going to put it down inside the back thermo well. As far down in there as I can put it. Until we hit the bottom. That thermal well goes pretty deep. Alright, we're at the bottom for the thermal well. So now we have our probe in. Next to the power outlet. It comes on. It says it's off right now, which is what I want. We're going to go ahead and say select. So now we're selecting this one. I'm going to tell it to, I want it to get down to 58 degrees. Because that's the temperature I want to pitch the yeast at. And I hit on. You'll see the blue light illuminated. So now the stasis turns on. Right now it's at 73 degrees. It'll have that beer or that unfermented wort down to 58 in probably like 15 minutes. It's really fast, guys. Yeah, right now it's pumping the glycol solution, distilled water and glycol solution through the tubing, and it's going through my hoses that are connected to my cooling coil that is sitting in my wort. And it'll drop really quick. Yeah. So, it's also getting close to time for me to change out my glycol. It's so cheap, man, like, it's really pennies on the dollar for glycol. Food grade glycol. You can see, watch, it'll drop that temp really quick. 72.3 right now. It's already down to 0.2, and it'll just continue to gradually drop as we go. Once this is at 58 degrees, we can pitch the yeast. Alright guys, our beer has fermented for 2 weeks at the 54 degree temperature. It's time to do the diacetyl rest, and I'm going to leave this fermenter sitting around 60 degrees for 3 days, and then we will start doing the lager process where we get this thing down 5 degrees a day until we're in the borderline freezing temps. I would say we're going to probably let this thing lager at the lowest of about 37 degrees or so. And once I get to around that 37 degree point or so, I'm just going to transfer it to keg and let it sit in the kegerator for a little while. So let's go ahead and get this rolling. Alright, here is the stasis. We're going to go ahead and hit select here. Oops. We're going to dial the temperature up to 60 degrees. Now this thing doesn't actually heat the beer up, but this room is sitting around 70 degrees right now, so the ambient temp will just kind of catch up with it anyways. And we just, there it is. So now I have it dialed at 60, and this will just slowly ramp up, and then once it gets up to about 60 degrees, the stasis will kick on and keep it around 60 degrees. So, alright, 3 days at 60 degrees. Time to start lagering this thing, so I'm going to dial it down 5 degrees. And it kicked on immediately. So we're going to go all the way down to 55. And we'll leave it sit there. And it'll start getting this bad boy down to much colder temperatures. I'm not going to bore you with the constantly dialing it down, but that's the effect. Basically, we're just going to dial it down till it hits about 38 degrees, and then I will put it in a fermenter. That's it for this video. We will talk about this beer when it's ready. So anyways, cheers. Thank you for following me along on this brewing journey, and I'll see you in the next video.